Welcome back, everybody. It is Business Monday. We are here at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I am Josh Fenton. He is Neil Steinberg. He is the head of the Rhode Island Foundation. I just a little tiny block here on the corner of downtown Providence. I only control maybe one or two of these little carpet squares. He controls philanthropy in Rhode Island. You just went through a huge process, many, many months. I think the number was 1,300 pounds of ziti handed out to coax Rhode Islanders in to have a discussion about Rhode Island and what the future of Rhode Island is. The initiative is called
Together RI. Yep.
And talk a little bit about it. You went all over the state. You did about 60 to 100 people at each of these things. Talk about what the experience was.
Sure. So first, we also had 2,300 meatballs too, just to round it out. Yeah, we consumed, and you know, we joke about it, but that was a big part of the effort and the event. So we did from the end of March until early May. Over 6 weeks, we went to 20 locations around the state. Usually weeknights, a couple of Saturday mornings. About 1,300 people participated across the whole thing, and we had dialogue. What we tried for was participatory democracy and trying to get away from this polarized anarchy that we seem to have too many times, of getting people and providing the opportunity for them to sit down face to face, tables of 8. They were held at schools, community centers, senior centers, and a family-style dinner and talk with each other and listen to each other. And we compiled the results. And it gave people the opportunity to talk about what are the strengths of Rhode Island, what are the opportunities of Rhode Island, and what are the issues in their community.
And you know, this is a big project, just getting 20 locations and scheduling them, and you had weather issue right out of the box. I think your first one was, you know, in the snow belt of Woonsocket, the first possible day. What were you surprised about? We'll go to the results in a little bit. But what were you surprised at from who participated, what kind of turnouts you got, and what kind of communities? And was there any surprise about the quality of the conversation?
Yeah, so, you know, I think the whole thing was an experiment. We didn't know if it was going to work. And so I think, you know, the unexpected surprise was that it was successful. You didn't have to sign up in advance. It was open invitation for everybody. So we walked into every one of these sessions not knowing if we were going to get 5 people or 100 people. And we got, you know, as you said, the average was 60 to 80. We got anywhere from 22 out in Foster, Gloucester to 120 in one of the Providence sessions.
So you get all of Foster, Gloucester to attend, all 22 people. And what was the biggest one?
Providence. We had one of the Providence ones was 120. But the way that format was...
Had to be the east side one.
No, it wasn't. It was actually the south side.
Oh, was it?
The tables of 8 and sitting there talking with each other in groups meant that whether there were 3 tables or there were 23 tables, it really didn't make any difference. People were engaged. So I think one of the surprises was how positive and engaged people were, not necessarily about the topics, but just the opportunity. They really relished this opportunity to see each other one-on-one, and 99% of the people said in a survey that they met somebody new. So it wasn't just sitting with people and talking with people you knew. I used to go, and I went to all 20 of them, and the result was I heard a lot and I gained 5 pounds. But you could sit back, and what I did was listen. So I didn't hear screaming, and I didn't hear silence. And walking around to the tables, you saw that people could disagree, they could agree, they could debate, but it was done, again, face-to-face, over the meal, respectfully. And so the surprise was just the vibe, that people really appreciated it, liked the idea of seeing their friends and neighbors.
And let's go to the data. What does the data show? I mean, what's the learning that us as a media company can take away, or Governor Raimondo can take away, or Governor Fung, or Governor Trillo, or whomever takes over next? What is it that they can learn from this process?
So I think there's 2 categories. So I'll talk first the broader category of doing something like this. So 72% of the people that filled out the survey, and 1,000 out of the 1,300 actually completed the survey that you or I prepared for us. 72% said that they learned something about the issues in their community. So they heard something, they met somebody, there was communication about what was going on. And 75% said after going to Together RI, they were more likely to get involved. So I think the lesson that we can all learn, including our leaders, is getting people together and listening, not just talking at them, not just, big ads, but listening to people is very powerful and giving them the opportunity to participate. And then it was very open about what are the categories and what are the issues. So some of the surprises or things that we just didn't know beforehand was the size of the state was noted by many people as a plus and as an opportunity, bordering on how come we can't get our act together in this little state where you and I, standing where we are now, in 45 minutes can get to every corner of this state and see people. Public education, so on the higher ed, we have these great institutions, let's leverage them. On the public education K through 12, let's improve them.
Yeah.
The natural resources we have, the opportunities to get around this state, good because there's a lot to see. On the challenge side was public transportation. There's a lot of places you can't get to. Government comes up, we want good government, representative government, and I think the elected officials could listen to that. And community came up. People like to be together. They like to communicate with each other. They like to know the issues. We have great diversity in the state, and that came out in all forms or fashion about what's different around the state. So I think, people can go to the RIF, Rhode Island Foundation.org website and see the report, or togetherri.org, and see this 100-page report has an executive summary. As I said, URI helped design the questionnaire for us, and they also collected all the table discussion notes. People took notes at the tables. And so whether it had sauce on it or not, we bundled it up and sent it down to URI. And they did a really good job of looking regionally. I don't have it all at the top of my head, but there were some things in northern Rhode Island different than in Newport County. But we have more commonality as a state than we do differences.
Was there any one takeaway that you just completely did not anticipate on an issue, or the level of passion about an issue? It's funny. We see real-time data. We see the number of people read something, how many times they share it, instantaneously. So we get this wonderful snapshot every day, continuously, about what people are engaging in. And oftentimes you're completely surprised.
Right.
And was there anything that you saw, touched, that you just went, wow, we need to think about that at the Rhode Island Foundation, about what we're doing to be able to meet that concern, demand, hope, whatever it might be?
Yeah, that's a great question, because what it reinforced for us was we're a community foundation. We're the state's community foundation. This was the ultimate in community.
Yeah.
So it really inspires us and implores us actually to get out there more. So to go out to the different parts of the state, to engage people in dialogue. We give a lot of money and a lot of grants, as people know, to nonprofit organizations. We don't always see the people on the other side of that. So one of the takeaways, the aha moments was, gee, we should do this more. So we're doing more community grants that are more grassroots. We're going to get out there more and make sure that we're seeing, we're listening, and we're hearing. And the other thing was the hunger that we saw, as I described. People just very positively and very passionately showed up and said, when's the next one? And we actually had a few people that came to 3 or 4 of them.
Oh my.
So the food was good, but it wasn't one that would inspire you to go all over the state. But what they wanted to see was what's going on. And there were 2 couples I remember, and I don't remember exactly where, at different times, were new to the state. And the feedback we got was, wow, this was a great way to learn what's going on in Rhode Island.
Was there any collection of viewpoints about a deep concern about the future or a condition within the state that needs, really, that it raised your awareness for an immediate action, where you said, oh God, maybe we need to put some more resources in that? Because you didn't have anecdotal information. This wasn't grandmother research. 1,000 samples is a reasonable, sure, they're self-selecting, probably a little better educated, probably a little more affluent, but a good collection of folks from across the state.
Yeah, just to that point too, you can see the demographics in here. So we did get a representative group. I'd say it was less young than not, just because on a Tuesday night it was tough to get away if you have little kids, but pretty representative. We had anywhere from a 6-month-old that came with her mother to a 92-year-old Holocaust survivor in Warwick. But I think more than surprise, probably reinforced with public education, was really the need to improve and to take to the next level and to make sure all our kids everywhere across the state, no matter what their home life is, no matter where they're coming from, and then translating that into job training and job opportunities. So again, maybe more reinforced than AHA. The AHA one was more, hey, we're hungry, we're going to get more involved. But that one reinforced it for us.
We have a story today about the condition of Providence Public Schools today, and a collection of different, and it's some dark numbers. I mean, and there's not a lot of positive numbers. There's no place that we could find in any data source in which Providence was outperforming urban areas or anything else. And some of the numbers, 5% of proficiency in science and math and a couple grade levels, and really no improvement for years and years. SAT scores 100 points lower than the national average, and still 100 points less than the national average. Where is the where's the I don't know.
Urgency.
Yeah, where's the urgency and where's the disgust across the board from decision makers and taxpayers? We pay around $17,000 per pupil spending. It's at the top level in the United States of America, but our outcomes are at the bottom level, and our outcomes are even below our peer. You know, it goes back to Ted Eddy and Dan Challenger doing a study in the early 1990s when they looked at peer urban cities and found that Providence underperformed its exact peers. Similar, ESL population, similar number of new immigrants into the community. Where is, Joe Paolino says, Providence's problem is it's never had a mayor who's actually had a kid in the school system. I don't know if that's but there's just, you go out and talk to people, they care about speed cameras, and they care about potholes, and they care about crime, care about taxes. There's no passion, excitement, energy around education.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. I read that this morning, and my first reaction when I read the list that you had was what you said. This isn't new. Even statewide, we have the highest Latino achievement gap in the United States for 5 years. Where's the urgency? Where's the action? We also, as you know, sit next to Massachusetts, which arguably has the best public education in the United States. And to that point, they started 25 years ago on a course, and they've stayed the course. We have not stayed the course even when we tried.
Democratic governors,
absolutely.
Republican governors.
Who was in the legislature? It started under Governor Weld, and so we are in the next couple of months going to be starting an initiative on long-term planning for education, and we're going to look heavily at the Massachusetts model.
Can we do the short-term planning?
Well, yes. I mean, we need to know where we want to get to, and then push it along the way.
When I was a city councilman 25 years ago, we were talking about the long-term.
No, I know, but we don't put the stake in the ground. And what has to happen, I think, is that social will, economic will have to overcome the political will, and you have to have that groundswell.
A prominent young East Sider said to me the other day, he said, it's so depressing. I think his child is 2. He said some of his peers that live in their neighborhood, they have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and all the 4 and 5-year-olds, those parents are all, they're about to blow right out of the city and off to Barrington and East Greenwich. It just breaks down the communities, it breaks down the long term, and they'd rather run than fight because they don't see a pathway to success.
No, that's right. It's actually an economic development tool if you can have great schools, and so that's why you have people going over the border sometimes for the schools. But there's no good reason when we look at it why we cannot do what Massachusetts did. It's not that different. We're not benchmarking against California or New York City. It's right up the road. So we are going to work on that. We're going to get the people around the table. Everybody's got to be willing to take 80% to get 100%. You can't get everything. We can't keep doing it the same way. And to your point, while I'm saying we need a goal to get to, we then need to have the urgency and just get it done, because it's not fair to the kids.
I appreciate you coming on. Congratulations on Together RI. We'll be following up with you, and we'll get the links in today's piece out tomorrow, and so people can get an opportunity to go through that dig into it. If they've got questions or concerns, who should they talk to at Rhode Island Foundation?
You can email me, Steinberg@rifoundation.org,
Great.
and
We'll
I will
embed that
answer
right
I will answer the email, no problem. But there's a lot of information that you can look at, some for curiosity, and some we hope people will take this information themselves. And the them is us. People need to jump in and get engaged.
That's great. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock hour, I've got speaker Nick Mattiello, hot off primary day, here for a good half hour. We're going to talk about all the issues. And then Kate Nagel's got the 4 o'clock hour, jam-packed with a host of folks. Thanks everybody for tuning in here at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Thank our friends over at Deepwater Wind. We'll see you tomorrow.